Welcome to StarWatch Now, your front row seat to all the hottest gossip, drama, and breaking news from the world of entertainment. If it's trending, shocking, or star-studded, we're covering it. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Have you ever watched an awards season and thought, if my favorite idol doesn't win, I'm rioting in the comments? Tonight on StarWatch Now, 3 of the biggest names in Chinese entertainment, Xiao Zhan, Chong Yi, and Wong Iba, are standing on the same invisible starting line, racing towards one glittering goal, a major television award that could redefine the next chapter of their careers. This isn't just a battle of trophies. It's a clash of acting, storytelling, and the power of millions of hearts around the world. If you're a fan from the US, Korea, Japan, Europe, or anywhere in between, this story is about you as much as it is about them. Stay with me until the end, because we're not only talking about who might win, we're also asking a bigger question. What does deserving truly mean in the age of global fandoms and streaming platforms? A new round of voting opens for one of China's most talked about television awards. Across social media, 3 names suddenly rise to the top of trending lists once again. Xiao Zhan, Cheng Yi, Wong Iba. 3 very different journeys. 3 different acting styles, but all of them share one thing in common. They are no longer only Chinese stars. They are Asian icons with global audiences. As fans refresh their phones, cast their votes, and argue passionately in comment sections, something more interesting is happening underneath the surface. This race is quietly revealing what modern audiences expect from a leading man. I'll give you 5 separate passages in order: first Xiao Zhan, then Chong Yi, then Wong Iba, then what we are really voting for, and finally how the audience also wins. Each one will stand alone, written as a continuous, emotional paragraph without headings or icons. Xiao Zhan's journey in recent years feels like watching a bright, almost fragile light slowly harden into a steady flame. At first, audiences were drawn to him as a heartthrob. The gentle smile, the clear eyes, the classic idol drama image. Yet, as time passed, it became clear that Xiao Zhan himself was not satisfied with being just a beautiful frame in the background of someone else's story. Project by project, he began choosing roles that carried weight rather than glitter, stories that asked uncomfortable questions about youth, sacrifice, and the cost of chasing dreams in a rapidly changing world. In works like those set in turbulent decades or emotionally complex realities, he turns away from the safe comfort of predictable romance and walks instead into narratives that demand vulnerability. There is a quiet bravery in the way he lets his characters fail, stumble, and doubt themselves, just as many of his viewers do off-screen. Even when he disappears onto a film set and reduces his public exposure, the connection between him and his audience does not fade. If anything, it deepens because people sense that he is investing that time into becoming a better storyteller rather than a louder star. For someone watching from America, Europe, or Asia, Xiao Zhan begins to represent a kind of faith. The belief that an artist can be both adored and serious, both cherished and challenged. The idol label slowly becomes too small for him, not because he rejects love from his fans, but because he is learning to carry something more demanding on his shoulders. The trust of viewers who press play not just to see his face, but to feel his heart speaking through the role. If Xiao Zhan's path is about transforming a delicate glow into a firm, reliable flame, then Chong Yi's path could be described as a series of quiet disappearances. Not disappearances from the screen, but disappearances into the characters he plays. With Chong Yi, the longer you watch him, the less you remember the actor and the more you remember the man within the story. The wounded swordsman, the conflicted scholar, the broken yet dignified hero. He has the rare ability to surrender his entire physicality to a role. The way his shoulders slump under invisible burdens, the way his gaze sharpens when his character hides a secret, the way his voice breaks in moments of restrained desperation. All of these details combine to create performances that feel less like acting and more like witnessing. What makes him so compelling is that his projects do not always arrive wrapped in hype. Some of them begin quietly, almost modestly, and grow through the simplest yet most powerful engine in entertainment. One person telling another, "You must watch this," it stays with you. Dramas that seemed niche at first become late-night companions for viewers who find themselves unexpectedly moved to tears at 2 in the morning. Through this, Chong Yi stands for a different kind of success, one that is not built on flashy headlines or constant promotion, but on the slow, stubborn spread of genuine appreciation. For audiences across continents who care about the craft of acting, he becomes a symbol of artistry that does not scream for attention yet refuses to be ignored. In an era where it is easy to be famous for being loud, Chong Yi offers a reassuring reminder. It is still possible to rise simply by being very, very good at what you do. Wong Iba's story, in contrast, is about rebellion against the comfortable narrative that was handed to him. From the beginning, his image could have remained frozen as the cool boy from a group, the dancer with sharp lines, the variety show favorite who laughs, teases, and trends. That would have been the safer road, the one polished by countless others before him. But somewhere along the way, he began to show a quiet impatience with that version of his future. Instead of multiplying light, glossy projects, he started to choose scripts that were darker around the edges, more demanding, and more likely to fail if not handled with care. When he steps into a role shaped by history, risk, and moral compromise, he tears off the protective skin of the idol and exposes himself to a harsher kind of scrutiny. His characters carry secrets, fear, and complicated loyalties. They are not designed to be simply admired, but to be questioned and understood. Viewers see a young man who is willing to be disliked in a scene if it serves the truth of the story, and that choice alone shifts the way people talk about him. Charts and data might record how a character of his breaks records, but what matters more is how international audiences, discovering him through streaming platforms, begin to say, "I didn't expect this from him." That sentence, half surprise and half respect, is the clearest sign that Wong Iba is rewriting his own label. He is no longer simply walking the predictable path of a star. He is carving the more dangerous road of an actor who would rather grow than be comfortable. When award season arrives and these three names appear side by side on a shortlist, the easy story is to say they are fighting for a trophy, one statue, one title, one moment on stage. But if you look beneath the surface, what we are really voting for is much more complicated and intimate. Each click, each vote, each heated comment on social media is less about a piece of metal and more about a vision of what we want modern entertainment to be. Some people are drawn to the steady reliability of someone who carries stories with dignity and grace, and in choosing him they are really saying, "We value consistency, responsibility, and the courage to grow quietly." Others are pulled towards the actor who vanishes into his roles, whose performances make them forget real life for an hour, and their vote becomes a way of saying, "We want depth, nuance, and characters who feel real enough to break our hearts." Still others are inspired by the risker taker, the artist who refuses to stay trapped in his first image, and by lifting him up they send a message. We support bravery, evolution, and the right to reinvent yourself in public. The award then becomes a mirror, reflecting back our collective priorities as an audience scattered from Seoul to Sydney, from Los Angeles to London. Are we choosing safety or experimentation, hype or craftsmanship, familiar comfort or honest challenge? In that sense, every awards race involving these three men turns into a quiet referendum, not just on who acted best, but on what kind of stories we want to see shaping the next decade. There is another way to look at this competition, one that changes the mood entirely. What if, no matter whose name is called at the end of the night, the real winners are the people sitting behind screens all over the world? Because of this invisible race between three powerful careers, we as viewers have been given a rare abundance of choice. We have dramas that explore memory and longing, series that turn complex legal or historical themes into human dilemmas, stories that invite us into eras we have never lived through yet somehow recognize in our own worries and hopes. When three actors push themselves forwards, they inevitably pull the industry along with them. Writers are encouraged to craft more thoughtful scripts because they know these faces will bring their words to millions. Directors dare to add subtler emotional beats, trusting that the audience is intelligent enough to understand. Platforms invest in riskier concepts, hoping to capture the next phenomenon. Without realizing it, we end up living in a richer landscape of storytelling simply because no one at the top is willing to stand still. And for the individual viewer, perhaps watching alone with a late-night cup of tea in London, or on a crowded train in Tokyo, or between shifts in New York, these works offer something quietly precious. Comfort, reflection, escape, sometimes even courage. We cry over fictional characters and then wake up with a slightly softer heart towards the people around us. We see flawed but resilient heroes and feel a little less ashamed of our own imperfections. That is a kind of prize no ceremony can measure. So while headlines will argue over numbers and titles, there is a simple truth beneath all the noise. As long as artists like these three keep challenging themselves, we, the audience, will continue to receive stories that accompany us through the hardest and most beautiful parts of our lives.